We're renovating both the Japanese style room and the Western style room at the same time. Last time, we replaced the tatami mats with flooring in the Japanese room. And in the Western room, we laid new flooring over the existing one.
いやー、これあかんよ、アウト。何しとんの俺。
This time, we're working on the walls and the ceiling. From installing the doors to finishing the interior, we'll push through everything in one go. Let's see if we can finish this without trouble. Snow started falling during work, and it continued the next day. At this rate, we might not even reach the site. But before I could worry too much, the sky cleared up. And the snow melted all at once. I kind of wanted to test my new 4-wheel drive Hiace on snowy roads though. The workbench is packed with 5.5mm plywood panels. We'll use these as the base layer for wallpaper in both rooms, on the exposed post walls of the Japanese room and the flat walls of the Western room. The smell of fresh plywood fills the entire job site. It's basically not recommended to apply wallpaper directly to exposed post walls. You sometimes see people do that in DIY projects though. This method, attaching plywood over an earthen wall, is common, but in regions with big temperature swings or high humidity, or when trying to improve air tightness, condensation becomes a concern, so it's not the best choice. In the renovation world, opinions on this method are divided.
いいと思うよ。このうちなんか結構精度がいいね。
家硬いじゃない。
硬いでないね。そう。なんか珍しくない。
床から置いてみて全部あれろ。ポンと置けるやろ。
置ける置ける。柱が基本的にまっすぐやわ。直角やよ。築何十年経っとるの。
We start covering every wall surface with plywood, with zero gaps of course.
Okay.
This room originally had those classic printed plywood walls you see in old houses. Personally, I actually kind of like them. The wood grain gives off that nostalgic Showa vibe, almost like you'd smell coffee brewing. But most people nowadays prefer a brighter room, finished with wallpaper instead of dark wood grain. Technically, you can apply putty and wallpaper directly without adding plywood. But it tends to peel early, so I try to avoid that method. And yes, we could use drywall instead of plywood. But in renovation work, when the internal studs are hard to locate, plywood, which bonds well with adhesives, is the safer choice. It's lighter and easier to work with too, which makes things smoother for carpenters.
何しとんの俺。あ。 150円。まあ今日の見どころがあるから。
Once again, a classic 100mm mistake from me. At this point, it's practically my signature move. Next, we start on the ceiling framing in the Western style room. This raised center style is called a step ceiling in older Japanese homes. It's a common design in houses built during the late Showa era. We measure the room with a Bosch laser distance meter. German tools tend to be solid and reliable. Originally, we planned to attach plywood directly onto the existing ceiling, but we changed the plan midway. We decided to add new framing and level everything out. Because once wallpaper goes on, any yellowing on the white trim becomes noticeable. So we removed the chiri, the small recessed gap around door and window frames, and covered the entire frame with plywood instead.
3部しかいかんです。怖いの3部は。
じゃあ要所要所だけ50打ってでタッカーで取ってく。
The staples feel a bit short, so we're combining them with nails. Since the recess between the frame and ceiling is exactly 15mm, we add 15mm furring strips around the perimeter.
3409。
Quiet moments reveal Shimizu-san's running monologue. It's the soundtrack of the job site. FM Shimizu. Who needs a radio when he's around?
ごめん、割れないで。
We attach the center ceiling panel. 5.5mm plywood is light, but it flexes if you get careless. This part goes a lot smoother with two people. Since the staples are short, we tried reinforcing the middle section with longer nails. But the center panel is nailed from above, onto the frame. So hitting it from below pushed the whole ceiling upward. It turns out the framing positions weren't consistent, which made the work trickier than expected. But this is where Shimizu-san shines. 45 years of carpentry intuition, still razor sharp. Even Shimizu-san couldn't find the studs. Renovation always keeps you on your toes. Unpredictable framing is part of old house remodeling.
ここにあったってことは尺度か。俺はここだ。正解だね。
Tracking down all the framing took longer than expected.
なんでや。これは OK。
完全に騙されとんな。
Sometimes it's 455 millimeters, sometimes 303, and sometimes
ここかじゃあ。
completely random.
尺度だったらやっぱりもう手で叩いた方が早いな。ここ。カンの方が早かった。出るよね、多分。うん。はいはいはい。そして、はい、OK。OK よ。
危な。大丈夫。びっくりした。危なかったね。今。
Usually I move pretty light on the roof, but today I slipped off the first step and jammed my foot. It all happened in a split second, and this was the moment my long battle with knee pain began. We finished the ceiling framing, and now it's finally time to install the plywood. Or so we thought.
みんな買って全部拝むんです。みんな。
チリは一緒なんだよね。全部チリ四方の
ここのチリは動物でやけど、もう現状こうやってうつむいてるでしょ。今はまだ。って言うやけど、ほんであそこでさ、あんまりにもひどいんですよ。これ。極端な話、向こう4部、ここ2部ぐらいあるの。
It might be hard to see on camera, but the ceiling slopes downward toward the center. You could install plywood as is, but visually, it would bother you. So we peeled the plywood back off and redid the leveling. We added 12mm strips around the perimeter and 5.5mm strips in the middle. A quiet but necessary bit of craftsmanship. The reason the ceiling slope didn't stand out until now was likely thanks to the chiri, the small recessed edge on the door and window frames. Chiri is the few millimeter gap where the frame sits slightly behind the wall or ceiling surface. Once we removed that recessed edge, the unevenness suddenly became obvious. That's usually how it goes. But in the end, we managed to get the ceiling perfectly level again. The plywood underlayment looks so clean, it almost feels like it could stay as is But of course, that won't do. Next, we move on to the doors and the new partition wall in the Japanese-style room. We remove the 4 sliding Fusuma doors and will replace them with a single sliding door and a new wall. First, we install the custom-sized door frame. This time, we're installing a single sliding door. To create the pocket where the door slides in, we need to build a thin interior wall. Shimizu and I talk about the details, but honestly, even Japanese people probably wouldn't understand the carpentry jargon we're tossing around. The door is custom made, so attaching the frame is just a matter of driving screws. But of course, that doesn't make it easy. Next, we install the nakahodate, a thin vertical post that forms the pocket wall. On the door sill, we attach a flat rail for the sliding door. Then we start framing the new partition wall. Traditional Japanese rooms often have wide openings and few walls, which makes furniture placement tricky. Adding this wall solves that problem nicely. Throughout the site, we're using 5.5mm plywood for all the underlayment. Every panel is butt joint, no gaps anywhere. Sometimes I think maybe framing it out first would be faster. But installing trim around every opening becomes a job of its own. The finished wall thickness is roughly 1 inch. We sandwich a 15mm furring strip between 2 sheets of 5.5mm plywood. Near the edges, the impact driver head doesn't fit, so a flexible extension shaft is a lifesaver. And for the screws close to the wall, a long bit really comes in handy. We add extra backing on the opposite side to get the wall thickness just right. Then comes all the fitting: door sill, head jamb, clearance spacing, leveling. Even with a custom sliding door, installation takes a surprising amount of time. But once everything is adjusted, the door glides beautifully. The old 4-panel Fusuma setup is gone, replaced with a clean modern sliding door. Next, we replace this door with a custom frame door as well. If we had a door craftsman make just the panel, the opening wouldn't shrink. But I tend to rely on ready-made frame doors that we carpenters can install ourselves. Finally, we add a hinoki trim piece to close the gap between the post and the door frame. I shave the edge with a plane at a slight angle to help it slide into place. Perfect fit.
面白そう
We
な
also applied plywood to the wall inside the Tokonoma alcove.
ああまさかの
二分五厘隙間違うよ。
あ
With that, the major carpentry work for both the Japanese style and Western style rooms is complete. But we're not stopping just yet. I repaint the old window frame to freshen it up.
これはもう自己満にやってますから、
好きでやってる。
もうなんかもう今日最後でしょ。
クロス屋さんが入る前にやっときたいね。
そうです。
めっちゃ垂れてます。社長。
嘘、待って。うわ、めっちゃ垂れてる。ちょっと待って。ごめん。下手くそやな。
We did everything we could with the time we had left. After the wallpaper installation, we came back to remove the floor covering. Final cleanup, and the project is officially complete. Looking up at the sky, I could hear birds calling. It felt like spring wasn't far off.
あ、やばい。
It's not absolutely perfect, but with the Kyudo kimono quietly adding its presence, the room has a refined and peaceful atmosphere. The once nostalgic, dimly lit space has transformed into a bright, unified room. Thank you very much for watching. A like or a comment really encourages us. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.